Hi everyone, happy Friday. We are going to be looking at document C to analyze and annotate this document so you are able to answer the questions and then write your paragraph for the end of this lesson. As we go throughout the video, I already have some notes made, but I'm going to read through them. You should pause to record the notes as you're watching. Pause and go back anytime that you need. Okay, here we go. This is document C. This document is the obituary of Eli Whitney. It was published in the Connecticut Herald on January 29, 1825, after his passing on January 8, 1825. Go ahead and highlight obituary of Eli Whitney, just so we're aware of what that is. An obituary is written after someone passes away. It is making a statement remembering that person and their accomplishments. So we are going to be hearing about Eli Whitney from someone else to see what they considered his greatest accomplishments. What is he going to be remembered for? In the document, it starts by talking about his life accomplishments. The late Mr. Whitney died at his residence in New Haven on Saturday morning, the 8th, after a long and distressing illness. Eli Whitney was 57 years old. Mr. Whitney was one of the most distinguished men, which means respected and accomplished, whom our country has produced, and his loss will be deeply felt and lamented when we come across a bold word. They are explained down below. To lament means to express your grief and sorrow. So he was lamented throughout the nation. He was a native of Westborough, Massachusetts, which is a state in the north, and a graduate of Yale College in 1792. His inventive genius made him one of the greatest benefactors of the age. What he is best known for is inventing the cotton gin, as we discussed yesterday. The cotton gin was the machine that separates cotton from the seeds and was the means of changing the whole course of industry in the southern section of the Union. The word industry, in this case, means business. So anytime you hear industry, we're talking about businesses or the way people make their money. Okay, so he changed the whole course of business in the South. We talked about this yesterday. Previous to the invention of his cotton gin in 1793 or 1794, scarcely a pound of cotton was raised for exportation. So there was very little cotton that was sold to make a profit before the cotton gin. In the short period of 12 years, the export amounted to about $12 million. So to summarize here, this is a longer note. Whitney changed the business system in the South by allowing cotton to become much more profitable after the cotton gin was invented. It took less labor. They needed less of a workforce to separate the cotton so they could sell more of it. Continuing down here. Judge Johnson of South Carolina, speaking of this invention in 1807, says, "The whole interior of the southern states was languishing, or growing weak, and its inhabitants moving for want of some object to engage their attention and employ their industry." So before the invention, the southern states were growing weak. People were moving away to search for better jobs, better business. The invention of the cotton gin at once opened the views of the South and set the whole country in motion. So here we're going to see what the impact of the cotton gin was. From childhood to age, it has presented to us a profitable employment. Individuals who are depressed with poverty and sunken in idleness means they're not really going anywhere, have suddenly risen to wealth and respectability. So people who were in poverty, people who weren't doing much, have gained wealth and respect. Our debts have been paid, our wealth increased, and our lands tripled in value. We cannot express the weight of obligations which the country owes to this invention. The extent of it can now be seen. To summarize, I'm going to write a short summary. The cotton gin greatly improved life in the South. People paid their debts, land value increased, and people became more respected. Okay, continuing, last paragraph. Mr. Whitney was a gentleman of extensive literary and scientific achievement, of liberal and expanded views, benevolent, which means meaning well and kind in his feelings, and mild and unassuming in his manners, which means he's humble. While his death will be regarded by the nation as a public calamity, something that causes distress, it will be felt in the circle of his private friends as a bereavement of its brightest ornament. Okay, first period diff. I'd like you to pause here and answer the questions. Please try to answer the questions on your own before going through the answers with the video. Seventh period, I'd like you to keep listening as we answer each of the questions. We're going to use the reading that we have marked up here to provide some evidence for our answers. Okay, we have 3 questions here to go over. All 3 questions, we're going to find information to help us answer this within the document. Okay, so the first question. In 12 years, the amount of exported cotton increased to. So we know from the document that before the cotton gin was created, they were really not selling any cotton. But in 12 years, it increased to $12 million worth. So down in our answers, we can type out before the cotton gin was created, less than a pound of cotton was exported. After the invention, they were selling $12 million worth of exports. So greatly increased. Question 2. Describe Judge Johnson's explanation of what happened in the South after the invention of the cotton gin. So this judge, he mentioned a lot of positive changes that happened after the cotton gin was invented. He starts speaking right here. So the invention of the cotton gin allowed people who were in poverty to rise up into wealth. The Southern debts were paid, their wealth increased, and lands were tripled in value. So we can really take our note right here and bring that down to the bottom. Okay. Everything in the South improved. Farming became more profitable. People became wealthy. They paid their debts, and land value was tripled. Okay, so everything was improving. These were some of the examples from the reading. And our final question, last one. How did Eli Whitney's cotton gin change the whole course of industry? Remember, industry means business in the southern section of the Union. Remember, we read about this in the start of the paragraph. So going back to the top, okay, we can see here, we see the quote, how did it change the whole course of the industry? We know that Whitney changed the business system in the South because when cotton became more profitable, they started selling more. After the invention of the cotton gin, the South began exporting more and more cotton because it became much more profitable. profitable. Remember, it was, they were making $12 million worth on the exports of cotton at this point in time. Okay, those are all of our questions. At this point, you are going to be getting ready to answer your overall paragraph question. A reminder that the question is, how did cotton affect slavery in the United States prior or before the Civil War? Good luck on your paragraph.